Hello, everybody. My name is Jason Saldo, and today I'll be talking to you about the Greenhead Lobster recall. And as you can see here, my lovely mother and father will be acting as my other group members. But before we jump into that, we need to first discuss about the recall. So this is a recall that happened on October 2nd, 2021. So this is only a little bit more than a month ago. A bunch of frozen lobster meat was recalled, mainly the knuckle meat, but there was also cases of the broken meat, tail meat, scorched meat. This is because of a biological hazard, contamination with Listeria monocyginus. So let's quickly jump into that bacterium real quickly. So Listeria, we're going to call it Listeria for short, is a psychotrophic bacterium. So what that means is, unlike most bacteria that really hate cold environments, Listeria thrives in them. It's commonly found in soil, water, and animal feces. And in terms of foods, you mostly will see cases of it in vegetables, meat, dairy products, and especially cold cuts. And all those things have in common is that they're relatively cold environments, which again makes sense as this is a psychotrophic bacterium. And that also would make sense as why lobster meat was the recalled meat, as it, because of this, lobster meat very much fits under this criterion. So over 5,000 pounds of lobster meat was recalled. Thankfully, according to the FDA, there have so far been no illnesses reported from said recall, so we avoided the problem before it became a lot bigger, which is great because Listeria could be very devastating. Um, those who did purchase the food, the lobster meat beforehand, were offered full refunds from the company. The company also urged purchasers not to consume this product, and many retailers took these types of meats off their store shelves. So, what does this mean for food safety? Food safety is all about the minimization of threats when it comes to our food. And even though this only happened in lobster meat, this can happen in all sorts of other cold products. As I said before, Listeria is psychotropic, meaning that in many other cold foods, especially our meats, it could very much happen in those kinds of cases. How can we avoid this in our future? Through thorough sanitation and QA of seafood and stricter sanitation protocols, we can at least ensure that the food goes through the proper processing to be safe, and we can reduce the number of foodborne illnesses that could be spread. Lastly, if you are of the Yopi demographic, you should always be concerned with products such as this. Yopi stands for the young, the old, such as the elderly, um, the immunosuppressed, and the pregnant for the P. So why does this demographic have to be concerned? Well, that's because of the fact that Listeria has two cases, the non-invasive and the invasive. So if you're a relatively healthy, normal person, the non-invasive are more mild conditions. They're not great, but you're not going to die from them. It's just fever, muscle aches, nausea, and vomiting and diarrhea. However, if you are of the Yopi demographic, you would most likely suffer the invasive cases, such as septicemia, meningitis, miscarriage, or stillbirth. And the invasive cases have a mortality rate of only 15 to 30%. So if you are of the Yopi, you really need to be careful with Listeria. As for the economic impact, only these aforementioned items of the lobster meat was recalled. Any other products from the company were not recalled. And there wasn't really an economic hit or signs of loss of profits or revenues as far as I could see. This chart here was the closest thing I found, which doesn't give me enough detail. So before we go on to my family's thoughts, I just want to give my quick sources for Dr. Yang. So my group members would be my lovely mother on the bottom and my dad on the right. Both have experience in the medical field. So I'm going to cut to their interviews, and thank you for watching. Have a great day. I'm here with my dad, who I wanted to interview as my second group member. So I have just recently told you about the Greenhead lobster recall. Did you learn anything generally new from this recall?
No, not really. Every so often, crustaceans are recalled because of contamination.
All right. What are your overall thoughts on food safety?
Well, it's incumbent upon the entity that is processing and preparing the food for distribution, as well as the market, to make sure that they're selling food that is safe and isn't going to give the consumer a foodborne illness. There's also some burden on the consumer themselves to make sure that food has been refrigerated properly and is safe to consume.
All right, and the last question, do you have any advice for any consumers when it comes to any products that could potentially be recalled?
Well, it's very difficult to anticipate a recall. I think if you've bought an item that you have to prepare, look at it, smell it, make sure that it doesn't smell like it's spoiled. Your own nose can often detect evidence of foodborne illness.
So, what have you learned from what I just told you?
Wow, I love lobster, but I think it's pretty dangerous if if it causes all those illnesses. Um,
What are your overall thoughts on food safety?
I don't think people are very careful about food safety. They don't wash their hands. They don't cook meals as they should be cooked in the correct temperature. Um, I think they leave the food out, which can cause a lot of bacteria, growth of bacteria, and I just don't think it's safe, especially in these COVID days.
Do you have any general advice when it comes to like being careful with products as such like this?
Yes, wash your hands. Make sure your meats are in the refrigerator, not room temperature. And if it smells funky, don't touch it.
All right, thank you, Bob.